Hi folks, editing Sara here. Just to let you know, this episode was recorded before Jack's latest bout of illness. He is out of the hospital now and doing better, and will be recording with us again soon. So the next episode will see us all together with a healthier Jack. Now on with IET. Hi, friends.
Hello, Poppets.
Howdy, y'all.
And welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat. I make the Costume Codex videos on YouTube.
I'm Jack Kramme, editor / right-hand man for Passion of the Nerd, editor for Chipperish Media, and co-host of Podcast of the Nerds.
And my name is Josh Gosdin, and I'm just a big old nerd.
And that's enough. And we're here today to talk about IET. I call it the most stereotypically Star Trek episode, or possibly X-Files episode of Farscape. But Josh is going to disagree with me on that.
I'm skeptical.
So,
I got X-Files vibes.
IET was written by Sally Ladupas. This is her only episode of Farscape, and mostly her resume is sitcoms from the 80s and 90s. We have a second turnaround in the director's chair from Pino Amenta, who also directed Throne for a Loss. In this episode, the crew are alerted by a loud alarm that they discover is coming from a piece of Peacekeeper technology. They can't disable it, and it's broadcasting their location into space.
If there's a Peacekeeper patrol within a quarter-light cycle, they know exactly where we are.
They have to dull the beacon while they figure out how to remove it, and decide the best way to do it is to land on a planet and submerge Moya in water. Or, in this case, in bog. Landing achieved, they make a plan. Removing the beacon is going to be very painful for Moya, so they need something to numb her. Fortunately, there is something on the planet called chlorium that will do the job. John, Dargo, and Aaron set off to find it. While on Moya, Zahn must convince Rigel to extract the beacon, as he is the only one who can fit into the room to do it. On the chlorium hunt, John, Dargo, and Aaron stumble into an episode of The X-Files, only with themselves as the aliens. The military are on the lookout for them, and Dargo and Aaron act as decoys as John continues the hunt. Meanwhile, on a sinking Moya, Pilot and Zahn decide they have to begin the extraction even without the chlorium. Zahn reveals that she can share Moya's pain, and Rigel reluctantly agrees to help. John tracks the chlorium to a small farmhouse and is discovered by a precocious alien kid and his mom, straight out of Central Casting. John gives us his best Captain Kirk flirting with the alien lady.
So, have you been searching long?
But things get complicated when the local military goons arrive. She hides Crichton from them. After all, he's a handsome alien, and we wouldn't want to see him dissected, would we? On Moya, the operation gets underway, but it is too much for Moya and Zahn collapses. Rigel is completely freaked out. Out in the bush, Dargo decides it's time to look for John, and is promptly captured by the military goons. Erin heads back to Moya, where she tries to force Rigel into finishing the extraction, with not the best results. Zahn's cooler head prevails, though, and she's able to persuade him to try again. With Dargo captured, John decides to rescue him with the help of the alien family. Well, actually, she does most of the actual work, but he boinks some heads. John gives his final Kirk flourish by showing her this Earth thing called kissing as they part. On Moya, Rigel and Zahn finish the extraction with Aaron's reluctant help. John and Dargo arrive in time with the chlorium for Moya's wounds, and they take off from the planet. In the quiet after, John looks longingly at the planet. Aaron asks if he'll miss it.
No, not that rock.
Not that rock.
Not that rock.
And my heart broke. It broke into a million pieces. Ben Browder, you magnificent man.
So, apart from Ben Browder is magnificent, any other thoughts on this episode? Where do you want to begin?
Well, I guess overall, I like this one. It really felt like an adventure, you know? It kind of had everything too. It had some action and a bit of suspense, and it had some comedy, and it also had some touching parts. I don't know if I have much to say about it in an overall sense, other than what I've just said now. I have a lot of notes about the individual parts, but overall, yeah, I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah, same. I was having a good time with it. I definitely when you mentioned who the director was, Sara, and that they also did Throne for a Loss, I was like, oh, okay, because the kind of the structure of the character groups was very similar to Throne for a Loss, but in a way that I'm really enjoying with this show. Of like every episode so far is a step on top of the previous one.
Right.
In terms of both character development and also a little bit of plot development as well. We're still so far, from my perspective, just getting hints of the main arc. We haven't really gotten back to it. But everybody's character evolution is very specific and concise at this point, which I really appreciate.
In some ways, I wonder if this should have come as the second episode, because we do have this getting to know you, but it works in this part of the order. They have it further down the line in the release in America, and it's no wonder that people found it a bit confusing.
Yeah, I think it really would have worked as an episode 2. Now you mentioned it, I didn't think about that until you just said it now, and I think it would have worked really well.
I think that coming after Throne for a Loss works better for it because of the character evolution that I mentioned. Everybody works better together in this episode.
Okay.
We talked a lot in Throne about how there was like failure after failure after failure, especially among Dargo, Aaron, and John. And in this episode, they're actually reasonably successful.
Yep. I remember somebody saying something about wanting to see what they do with a living ship. So,
listen, I got my wish. And so far, and I'm Sara, I know that you're sitting there watching me whenever I do this, but I'm like, I really hope they do this. I really wanted more of this. And then the next damn episode, they keep giving me what I ask for. And so I hope in the next episode, somebody knocks on my front door with a check for $1 million. Put that out there. But no, this was we got to see more of Pilot. Like Zahn actually goes into Pilot's room
chamber.
Yeah. We got to like explore what it means for Moya to be a living ship like that. I was thrilled with all of that. I loved it.
Speaking of Pilot, I was asking the same question that Zahn asked from the beginning. Like, how did the Peacekeepers get the beacon on Moya in the first place? And Pilot's response made me feel suspicious because it seemed very wishy-washy. Like, it didn't... I wasn't by there, but hang on. No, you're not telling the truth. There's something going on here. It was just too... I didn't buy it, man. Just didn't buy it.
I didn't buy it either, but I was catching what I've... Sara's poker face.
It's okay. It was pretty obvious, Sara. It's okay.
I was catching what seemed to be shame from Pilot when he was telling the story, and he was like, "Yeah, they put Moya to sleep." Like
right?
Yeah. Like he was feeling real bad about whatever happened.
Yeah. It just yeah, like I said, it just seemed very wishy-washy and just like kind of like trying to just skip over it, or skim over it, I should say. Yeah.
Yep.
Damn it, Sara.
Damn it! No, it's okay. It's pretty obvious, I think. So yeah,
it's good foreshadowing. We all caught it.
Yeah.
I didn't the first time around, but yes, you are very smart. And I will say nothing more.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, does it tell us more about the Peacekeepers? Do you think that this is the way that they treat Leviathans?
I mean, they've already established that they're douchebags. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. What do you think, Josh?
There was a line, I can't remember, help me remember if it was related to the chlorium or if it was related to the initial sedatives that they gave Moya to install the thingy, where they were like, yeah, not all Leviathans survive having this thing installed.
Yeah.
And like when I heard that, I was like, well, shit. Like,
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah. No, I didn't think of that.
it'd be like going out and trying to tag a whale, and there's like a 50% mortality rate.
I didn't think that. Yeah, actually, no. I think that makes them considerably worse. I changed my answer.
Because it is interesting that we learn that at the same time that we see Aaron having some feelings about no longer being a peacekeeper.
Yeah.
It was interesting too. Also, I feel like Aaron had a couple of lines of dialogue that made me think that the Peacekeepers operation overall is very siloed or compartmentalized. Where she was like, "I don't know how to work that thing," and it's literally like a user-friendly scanner. Like John has been in space for about 2 months at this point, and he's like, "Yeah, all you do is do this and this and this," and Aaron's like, "I don't know how to work that thing. I was a soldier." So
Right.
I make up that her experience with the Peacekeepers, and probably by design, was incredibly compartmentalized. It was very like,
We also got more Aaron and Dargo banter.
yeah.
We did.
Was the last one thrown for a loss? I think it was, right?
They weren't together in Back and Back to the Future much. So yeah, that was the last time we saw them as a pair.
It was a lot of fun, and they are just great together. And like, this isn't a criticism and all, but like that scene could have been removed and put into Throne for a Loss, and it would have been practically the same. I think very similar vibe. Just yeah, but they're still great together, and I think they're a lot of fun.
Absolutely, for sure. I was struck also though by and again we keep referencing Throne for a Loss, but again building off. I wonder if they were shot at the same time. You mentioned that episodes were shot in pairs.
With the same director? I don't know.
But the chlorium MacGuffin wound up not really meaning what they initially thought that it was going to mean, or being for what they thought it was going to be for. Because like Rigel was like done by the time John got back with the chlorium, and he and the salt shaker of mystery, and initially that was the whole thing. It was like, we can't do it without this, and then they did it without this.
I basically assume it's salt.
That makes sense. So chlorium, chloride.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I'm now angry that I didn't.
I mean, maybe it's alien salt, but yeah. Although you wouldn't necessarily be eating handfuls of it. Well, I mean, he's Rigel.
Sure. What doesn't he eat?
Yeah.
Apparently he eats Aaron.
Right, my God! What the? Seriously, I have here in capital letters, what the actual hell? Rigel just bit a chunk out of Aaron's arm and ate it. He didn't just bite her, he bit a chunk out and he ate it. Like, what the hell? Dude.
Like he was slurping and he was dripping. Yeah.
Like, I still love Rigel, but he's kind of just awful and gross, and I don't know. I'm feeling conflicted about him because he's still hilarious and shocking and gross, and I kind of like that, but he's real gross.
Well, since we're on Rigel already, shall we talk about Rigel and Zon's plot?
Right. I don't know. I the main thing I have to say about it is I just love how Zahn was such a badass and was just like, yeah, I will take Moya's pain. Let's just do it. Let's just rock and roll. I love that.
I agree. I was going to talk a little bit about Zahn for a couple of reasons. First of all, there's two kinds of amazing acting that I really respect as simply a consumer. I'm not in the industry at all. The first kind is the like, the Oscar baity, the like I'm tearing up watching them tear up. Like, oh my god, they're pulling me in so deep. And the second kind is where the script calls for you to wail with pain while throwing yourself against a wall for 2.5 acts of an episode. And like Virginia Hay just went all in, and like she was just like holding the wall and just like the whole thing.
Like initially I thought it'd be basically a single scene and we were done, but it was like most of the episode for her. And she, as someone who is a chronic pain sufferer, I bought that. Like she was really good.
Yeah, big time. I loved the eyeball effect. Like the first time she grabs the wall, it almost looked like her eyes flipped backwards.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the intent of the effect or not, but that was how it came across. Is like there were pupils on the back of her eyes. That instead of rolling back or anything like that, they like boop, and I was like
Yeah, like overall, it was just really well done, and I like the fact that Rigel was basically the only one that could go in there and perform the surgery, simply because Rigel, like, sure, he sort of had like a lot to do with Throne for a loss, but at the same time, I feel like he's at this point still relegated to the background for the most part, and so I like that this gave him more of it just gave him something to do, I like that.
I really liked the character turn with Rigel in this episode, where initially they were playing it, and it seemed like everybody except for Zahn, because Zahn already knew. It seemed like everybody except for Zahn was like, "Oh, that's just Rigel being so selfish," and blah 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 blah. But then when Zahn and Rigel get to have their conversation after Rigel like hamburglars Aaron. And they're sitting there and they're talking, and Zahn goes,
I just got that, sorry.
Wait for it. There it is.
Sorry, proceed, my friend.
and Zahn basically is like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't want to hurt Moya. Like, that's why he was so blustery. That's why he was throwing such a tantrum. It wasn't because he felt it wasn't because he was being selfish. It was because he was being overwhelmingly like self-flagellating.
Yeah, he's definitely got a sense of bravado he uses to deflect and whatnot. Yeah,
I liked that he didn't want to hurt Moya.
Yeah,
and also he doesn't know how to do stuff. He's always had people to do things for him.
Right. Yeah, because he was royalty or is royalty.
So we've covered the most of the Moya story. Although the last bit of the Moya story is, I find Aaron's journey in this interesting.
I also really enjoyed Aaron, and this is kind of what I was talking about when I was mentioning that it's sort of built on Throne for a Loss. And Throne for a Loss, Aaron, Dargo, and John were together, bumblefucking around. But in this episode, they actually were like changing direction, and they were adapting to the circumstances and what was happening. So Aaron going back to the ship, I really liked. And then when she shows up and she's, I don't know, I've got two kind of half-formed thoughts about it. It's like she was feeling helpless and useless, but it's also another step in her character evolution towards like compassion and empathy and all that kind of stuff. And there was a moment where she's propping Zahn up against the wall, and I was in my head I was kind of looking for kind of a Star Trekian resolution, where Zahn was going to be like, "You can share the pain too," and Aaron was going to be like, "Okay," and then both of them are going to go together. But it didn't do that literally; it did that metaphorically. Like that was what was happening. Was Aaron was helping as best as she could by sharing the burden and sharing the pain.
But also, like, refusing to let on that it comes from a compassion.
Yeah, when Zahn called her on that, and she was like, "It seemed like you cared about me," and Aaron was like, "No, I don't care at all. Nope, zero care."
I also feel as though she's sort of coming to terms with the fact that she isn't a peacekeeper anymore. I can't remember the exact line, but was it like a peacekeeper wouldn't do that, or I'm not a peacekeeper anymore, something like that. I forget it, but the way she said that, she's still struggling with that, and I think that's very fascinating as like a character study, I guess.
The fact that she's telling how to disable a piece of peacekeeper tech
And right at the end, she says to Rigel that he will die at the hands of a peacekeeper. And I was like, oh, like wow, oh, like yeah, don't mess with Aaron.
I think we need to start tracking when people make vows.
Right? Because I'm wondering, like, is that a foreshadow? Is Rigel gonna die? Is she gonna turn back to the dark side? Is it gonna be a Revenge of the Sith deal? Like, interesting. Probably not, but that'd be kind of cool. I don't know.
I say nothing.
Kind of cool, I think.
So that's everything on Moya. Then we have the Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
He kisses an alien girl. That is always going to be considered the Captain Kirk.
There's so much to say about this stuff on the planet. There's so much. So let me kind of try and start from the beginning, I guess. I thought it looked like Earth too, like a hell of a lot. I said that before even Crichton said it. And once again, we get to see more of the Australian bush, because like and just the planet really looks like Earth. And then Crichton ends up inside of the home of the aliens, and it's surrounded by all this stuff from Earth. There's like frying pans, and like it's like Earth but like 50 years ago. And it didn't like ruin my immersion or anything, but for a chunk of the episode, I'm like, wait, is this Earth? Are they going to reveal that this is somehow Earth, like I don't know, maybe Earth like 1,000 years in the future or something? I don't know. Like, obviously not, but it felt so strange to me.
You were looking for some Planet of the Apes in amongst the X-Files and the Star Trek.
Yes. Oh, and speaking of the X-Files too, when they landed and the army dudes were after them, it's dark and there's like headlights and stuff. That was straight out of the X-Files. And was my mind playing tricks on me? But did they have a dog?
Yes.
There was a dog, right? And I'm like, is this Earth? Like, what is going on?
Or is it Dagobah?
Right.
Where Yoda lives.
Hey, little green guy trains warriors.
And I love that he didn't even like say it was fiction. He just let it go.
Yeah, and Aaron was like, "Oh, okay, makes sense." Yeah. No, I was getting X-Files vibes all over the place on the planet storyline, like including the way that the shots of the army trucks were framed whenever they showed up, like backlit, mist. That was so early season X-Files.
I kind of got like a close encounters of the third kind vibe, and it was kind of cool. Like with the mother and the son on the planet, it's just kind of neat to see what we perceive as an alien freaking out about what we perceive to just be a regular human. They kind of like flipped it around there, and I thought that was pretty cool. I know that's been done before in a lot of sci-fi, but I just thought it was neat.
It was very evocative for sure. So I was getting X-Files vibes, I was getting Contact vibes, I was getting low budget vibes. I mean, God bless them, but that set and those costumes together were not doing anybody any favors.
That I'm pretty sure that was just like a wooden shack on the outskirts of Sydney.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it.
Like somebody was like, my cousin has a barn.
Yeah.
Which again, you got to do what you got to do when you're making a TV show, and you got that kind of makeup and those kinds of special effects. But it almost pulled me out a couple of times when Dargo is strung up in the barn, and they're all around him in their orange lycra jumpsuits,
and the like dildo looking sensor thing. It is a bit. The props
Thank
are.
you. I was trying not to be dirty, but thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think when you got a show like this, you got to choose where your budget goes, and
Yeah.
yeah, the effects. A lot of stuff was a bit basic in the making of this episode, but I think that's okay when you spend time on character development, which is what we
Yes.
get in this episode. Is we get some interesting character stuff.
Right, right.
So I wasn't getting, and I'm sorry, Sarah, I wasn't getting Star Trek vibes even once. And I love Star Trek.
I did a little bit. But I'm not a Star Trek fan, so I can't really speak to it.
Even him giving her a peck on the cheek at the end, that to me, if it was going to be a parody of Kirk, he would have just banged her. Like, he wouldn't have just given her a peck on the cheek. And then actual Kirk in the original series didn't actually do that all that often.
It's less what Star Trek is and more what we sort of the popular imagination thinks it imagines Star Trek.
Sure.
I was thinking about there's that one, and I am terrible at episode names. The one where Data befriends a kid.
Thine Own Self.
Yeah.
And that's how big of a fan I am. Wow. You gave me one descriptor.
That's what was running through my head. That and Kirk's flirting with alien ladies were the two things that had me. And this is Star Trek and X-Files and things all kind of in a blender.
So, my friends, may I present to you a theory that I had whilst watching all the stuff on the planet? Now, look,
I've got
I
a
can be
theory.
Really reaching. And there we go. There is the Buffy reference. We did it.
No, something isn't right there.
Could it be
Now, look-
witches? Some evil witches?
Which is ridiculous because witches, they were persecuted, women power, and love the earth, and I'll be over here.
Okay, and yes, Jack, we're back to...
So look, I could be really reaching here. I could be connecting dots that just aren't there, okay? So just bear with me. But I can't help but wonder if the planet and its inhabitants were inspired by the 1950s Cold War era. So
Yeah?
we have the military officer guy who visits the home, and then he's dressed like a Russian communist soldier from that era. The mother and the son seem to exhibit this sort of communist panic from that era with Crichton when he shows up, and some of just the physical aesthetics seem inspired by that era, and some of the technology, like especially the radio that Crichton sits down at to try to contact the crew. So look, I don't know, but that's what I was feeling.
Oh, yeah.
No, like 100%. Especially the military uniforms, they were like, they were
Absolutely
very evocative of Soviet.
right. Yeah. That's the first thing that triggered the thought was the way the officer was dressed.
I have never gotten Soviet, but definitely that era, that Cold War era. I find it... one thing that struck me on this watch is the sort of skepticism of military. Because I have just gotten so used to... I think we've gotten so used to things like the standard in film now is often to have the military involved, so that so often you get this patina of pro-military propaganda over like so much media, particularly the MCU.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting to see this from an earlier time and to have this definite skepticism of authority and military. So just like unapologetically, yes, of course we're going to hide from the scary military guys because they might dissect him. So
Well, that was very, yeah, Jack, you've unlocked one of my chakras, I think. That was very...
I did it! Yes! I made Josh think about something. I elicited something from the great brain that is Josh Gosdin. I'm so proud of myself.
Listen, my brain is not often that great. Now that
Hey,
you,
hey,
yeah.
hey, hey, hey. No self-deprecating here. That's my job.
You are, Josh, you are one of the most insightful people I know. You often blow me away at the hangouts, man. And I mean that. Like, I legit mean that. Like, sometimes I'm like, why didn't I think of that? I want to be more like Josh.
Well, okay, I'll just cry about that later. Thank you.
So no
But anyway,
doing
proceed,
yourself
my
down.
friend.
You are big brain man.
Well, so I'm connecting. Then my big brain is connecting some dots with what you've given me, Jack. Is very like so. Sarah, a much more, I guess. I'm thinking 50s sci-fi. So even predating the original series, Star Trek, like Day the Earth Stood Still, War of the Worlds,
That's what I just thought.
Plan
yeah.
9.
and in a lot of those kinds of classic sci-fi settings, the military is for sure not the good guys. Like at best, they're just in the way, and at worst, they're usually like a secondary antagonist in the film or in the story. And so, like, yeah, this was big. Day the Earth Stood Still. This was, John was Klaatu. Oh my God, John was Klaatu. This was Day the Earth Stood Still. Ha! John was Klaatu. Oh, okay. Moya is the robot. Moya is Gort. Ah!
I haven't actually seen it.
So, in Day the Earth Stood Still, an alien spaceship lands in Washington, D.C., because where else would it land?
I saw it years and years ago, very long time ago.
I'm
Yeah,
the film
and-
minor and I haven't seen it, so I should be ashamed. Anyway, continue.
The alien hops. It's a flying saucer. It's very classic. The alien hops out of the flying saucer, and almost word for word says, "Take me to your leaders."
And he's just like a giant tin man,
So he's-
if I remember correctly.
Well, so he's got a robot who's a giant tin man,
Oh, right. Okay.
and the alien holds out what is meant to be a gift of peace, and he's immediately shot by the U.S. Army. And the robot retaliates and vaporizes everybody's guns until he tells the robot to chill out. So he spends the rest of the movie being cared for by a woman and her son, and being nursed back to health.
Oh.
And eventually it is revealed that he came to Earth because his people are afraid that humanity is about to destroy itself. And he came to Earth to try to save the world. It's a Jesus allegory. He came to Earth to try to save humanity. And so he goes back and he says, "Take me to your leaders again." And they say, "Well, the United Nations is," and he goes, "No, I mean all of your humanity." And basically leaves them with the message of, like, choose peace or risk your own destruction. And until you choose peace, we will not allow you to progress. So he's got a giant robot that is inert for most of the movie, but is hugely powerful and could, like, vaporize the entire army if it wanted to. And so part of the movie is trying to get back to that robot to reactivate it so that he can be fully healed and fully restored to health. So this was Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah. Wow.
I think that's what what's her name again?
the director,
Linnea.
or the writer.
I think that may be what Linnea expects Crichton to be, but that ain't what Crichton is.
That's true.
No.
He's no savior. He's just
No,
he's just a traveler.
Yeah.
he's just a scientist dude, bro. I love Crichton. Don't get me wrong. I love Crichton. He is great.
But he has kind of fallen ass backwards into that role, not
Yeah.
gone after it. This is entirely circumstances.
The peacekeepers put what is essentially a tracking device on Moya, right? But they thought it was a good idea to make it like emit this really loud noise that alerts anybody on Moya that it's there. That seems a little silly to me.
Well, they probably. So looking at the effect of the thing when it went off, it was pretty debilitating, and so
Right.
I would imagine that part of it would be to discourage any kind of theft or rebellion attempt. And then also,
Okay.
even if they knew where it was, this episode made it pretty plain that removing it could be fatal to Moya.
Right. Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, very much a nitpick. It's not something that like bothers me. It's just a thought in my head just now. Yeah, it's neither here nor there. Sometimes it's just because that's how it was written. Don't think about it too much.
Also, because plot.
Yeah, exactly. Because plot. That is the best answer. Because plot. Because that's just what happens.
Sometimes the needs of the plot outweigh the needs of
The logic.
yes. So yeah, we nevertheless we do have this this beacon, and we have John hunting for alien salt.
or alien fertilizer. Like, he wasn't sure what it was.
Well, something that
Yeah,
goes
and I
in the
love-
food.
Yeah, I loved how the mother was like, "This is what you want? It's just we eat it, Like, are you sure this is it?" And he's like, "I don't know, but
Onlux is what she called it.
yeah, yeah."
Somehow I remember the name of the salt more easily than I remember the name of the girl.
Yeah.
Sometimes life is like that, honestly.
Another thing I appreciate is that the show still. I think I've said this every episode so far, and I'm gonna keep saying it. But I love that it's doing its own thing. It's not really following in the footsteps of any other sci-fi, at least that I've seen. It's really trying to stand on its own two feet and go its own way, and I really appreciate.
Except we
that.
just discussed all the ways in which it was drawing on.
True.
Except it, like you pointed out, though, it was subverting the day the Earth stood still.
Right.
John wasn't a savior after all. John was just a traveler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some subversion in this episode, definitely. It didn't follow convention, really.
Yeah, it was borrowing from a lot of conventions, but
Changing them.
using them for its own thing. I think I'm kind of not fond of the precocious child trope.
Okay.
Really? The kid turned you off, Fostro?
Yeah, the kid kind of annoys me. I don't know. I'm just not a very big fan of. I am a fan of precocious kids, especially when
real life.
yes, especially when they're my nibblings. But in fiction, it's child actors.
Yeah, that's interesting because, like, for me, when it comes to child actors, there are kind of two categories. There's child actors, and then there's professional actors who happen to be children, right? So if you think about the kids from the It remake, to me, they were all professional actors who just so happen to be children. But then you get, like this kid who is a child actor who doesn't give the best performance. It's not the worst I've seen from a child actor, but yeah, not the best. So I definitely see where you're coming from.
It's also tends to be about whether a director can direct children or not. Some directors can,
true.
But it's quite difficult. This just kind of falls into precocious kid territory for me, and. Yeah, I don't know.
Not a fan of that particular trope, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. We all have tropes that we like and tropes that get on our nerves.
Maybe a part of it, and I'm just spitballing here, but maybe a part of it is often child actors are they're told or directed to try to like show emotions or act out situations that they have no experience with because they are kids, so they don't really know how to act it out or to respond in a natural manner.
I think also just often adults don't know how to write kids. I love the way Terry Pratchett writes kids because he writes them as little monsters.
As someone that has like 15 odd nieces and nephews,
It's not always on the kid actors so much as a combination of adults writing and directing kids.
Right.
With kids, but yeah, because I've also seen talented kid actors on stage too.
Oh.
It's just this one just falls into central casting precocious child, and I think I've probably harped on about that a bit too long. Plus, Linnea is a little bit like, ooh, tell me more of this Earth thing.
The scenes with John, Linnea, and Fostro all together, I was imagining that happening in real life. If a single mother was living alone with her son, and some dude just burst into her house and was like, "No, but really, like I'm cool." And
where's the salt?
and if she turned to her kid and was like, "Shut up, kid, don't tell anybody," then there was a couple moments the look on Fostro's face was like, "Mom, are you okay? Should I call somebody for you?" Like,
I know he looks like Ben Browder, but
right?
Because if it had been Dargo who see, that's the thing. You get her response to Dargo is, "Oh my God, what is that thing?"
Yeah.
I think it's fairly obvious how she's making judgments here.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, I don't think their species was named, right? I don't think
it
they
says
were named.
Denians. Is what it says in the book. I don't know that it was named in the.
Yeah, I don't recall if it was, but they are essentially humans with wider faces, and to me, I think that was done very intentionally so we could relate to them, but also. I don't know. I think perhaps they would have felt a little awkward or weird, or they thought that the audience wouldn't like it if we see John kiss some completely non-human Cthulhu looking thing. I don't know.
Not the Cthulhu guys.
Could you imagine if he kissed that thing?
Listen, we're not here to kink shame.
I do seem to be having a lot of shade for this episode. I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, of the ones that we've watched so far, Sara, this seems like it's your least favorite of the ones we watched so far.
It's just it doesn't it doesn't give so much on the rewatch. It's not the worst episode, which we will come up against in a little while.
Swell. I was expecting something to happen at the end that didn't happen, and I don't know if I'm upset about it or not.
Okay.
So one thing that I really appreciate about this show so far is that even within the really fantastical depiction of space and alien life and all that kind of stuff, so far it's still very grounded in hard science and physics. Like when they're talking about, Moya's hull is resonating and it's amplifying, and we need to have a medium that reduces the resonation, and so the water, which doesn't conduct sound as well, all that kind of stuff. I was like, all right, I see what you guys are doing here. But knowing that, for as long as that signal was broadcasting, and knowing that signals just can propagate infinitely through space, the Peacekeepers heard it.
Right.
Is what I was making up in my head. And so at the very end of the episode, what I was expecting to happen was them to fly off and Krace's ship to fly into frame over the planet, and that was going to be the episode ending. Okay.
Because you're right. Radio signals travel at the speed of light, and once you send them out, you can't pull them back in. They're gone, and they're just going to keep on going. Yeah.
And so, like I said, I haven't decided if I'm disappointed that didn't happen, that my expectation wasn't met, or if I'm once again happy that my expectation was subverted.
I think that would have been really freaking cool. So I'm disappointed. Now you mentioned it.
Oh, no.
I didn't think anything about it beforehand, but now I'm disappointed.
And so that was what I was talking about earlier. There were hints of what sound like is supposed to be the main arc, but we didn't actually get any main arc in this episode.
Is that another poker face fail? Like,
Sara.
there is, but you just didn't see it.
Sara.
You know how the thing you said early in the recording, how every time you ask for something?
Oh.
Damn it.
We're gonna have to start giving spoiler warnings, it seems.
Well, maybe not, because I don't know that I'm spoiling anything. I'm just asking.
No, I'm not telling you. I'm not. Yeah,
I'm just an innocent yet person in this whole thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything about what we see in the next episode.
Oh, the next episode, huh? So you're saying something happens in the next episode?
Look at the havoc we've wrought. Look at what we've done.
One of the things that Josh may have
having so
indicated
much
he
fun.
would like to see, we will indeed see in the next episode.
Swear to God.
I think that's going to happen every time.
I swear to God. It better be that guy with $1 million.
No.
From now on, I'm just gonna listen to Josh in terms of what's gonna happen
Okay.
next, 'cause-
Someone out there, start tracking how many times Josh asks for something that appears in the next episode.
Please, yes.
And we will make a supercut at the end of the season or whatever.
Yes.
Seems
Please.
like that's a Boris job.
Yeah.
Much obliged, my friend. The other thing that I really liked about this episode was it seemed to me like the whole theme of the episode was compassion.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
And
Josh, you beautiful man.
listen, Jack, when I look at your eyes, it's so easy for me to be inspired.
A man after my own heart.
I need to add some rising music every time you guys do that.
Just zoom in on our face. So, compassion is the thing, which is one reason why I didn't mind so much that the chlorium wound up not meaning what it was set up to mean. It wasn't an anesthetic to aid the surgery. It was a salve to help Moya feel better afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It was to help ease her pain. And, that's what Zahn was trying to do the whole time. And that's what Erin wound up doing metaphorically is when she was supporting Zahn, is she was trying to help Zahn ease her pain. So it was all about, and that was the reason why Rigel didn't want to go in and do his thing, because he didn't want to cause any pain. It was all about this overriding theme of compassion.
That's beautiful, man.
And that's what made Linnea make the choice that she made on the planet with John. Instead of turning him over to the army, like the general pointed out, he was like, this is your life's work, so your underreaction is kind of strange. She had already decided to lean into compassion, when John was like, I just need help. And that is actually an overriding theme in The Day the Earth Stood Still. Klaatu's ultimate message at the end of that movie is, you're fighting yourselves and it's ridiculous. Knock it off. So this whole episode, everybody wins, everybody hits their objectives whenever they choose compassion. At the very end of the episode, when John is looking out the window or out the screen or whatever it is, and he's like, no, not that rock. Erin gets this look on her face for just a moment where she's like, I could say something, but I'm not going to. And she just gives him a moment. She just walks away. And I thought that was really lovely.
That's such a gorgeous thought, man, and it's all there. It's all there. You're spot on. That's incredible. Why didn't I think of that?
You brought up the 50s sci-fi thing.
No, well done, man. That's a really poignant and beautiful thought. I really dig that a lot.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that is one of the things I love about Farscape. We're already building, a love of, the importance of compassion. And it's one of the reasons why I have such a fondness for Zahn, is because her entire being is compassion.
And she just carries this air of just like peace and calm and love and warmth, and I really like it. And I just love too, like she doesn't give a second thought to helping Moya. She just does it. Yeah, and without really any concern for herself, she just does it.
Yeah, and it's we talked in the beginning in the premiere about how we all sort of felt that she was in a way taken from somewhat inspired by Troy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is what Troy could have been if they had.
Yeah.
Much as I love Marina Sirtis and I love Troy, but she has a serious case of, oh, sweetie, you were written by a man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And Zahn doesn't, even though largely she is written by men. She is still,
absolutely.
Which is why, as much as that is such a thing, as you get female characters who have a case of, oh, sweetie, men don't have to write women like that. you can write a Zahn. I think she is, she's really lovely, and especially in these, I appreciate her in these early episodes, where everybody else is still learning who they are and where they fit. Is that she sort of space mommy?
She's shepherding them, yeah, in a big way.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think her and Rigel's interaction in this episode is a highlight for me. The way that she extends compassion to him when he doesn't know how to do work, so has to learn how to try. But she also doesn't take shit when he's being when he's being all whiny about the knife he has to use and everything. She's just like, get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious as to what that whole ritual thing is too, by the way. It sounds very unpleasant. Vastly unpleasant.
I believe it is supposed to be something we imagine in our minds. We don't get a huge amount of Dargo in this episode, but
no,
he is a lot of fun.
He was a lot more chilled out in this episode, and maybe it's because we came off of Back to the Future, where he was not chill at all.
No,
but in this episode, he was very just like, yeah, we'll just wait in this tree. It's fine. Yeah, when he's in the barn, and he's like, I mean, you guys think you got me, but you don't got me. Whatever.
There was lots of scenes of, there was like two, but him like roaring and like sticking his tongue out and stuff. Yeah.
Well, a couple episodes ago, he vowed he would never be captured again. And that lasted.
I didn't think of that.
So I wanted to gush about the special effects, despite bashing the production values earlier. The shots of Moya, external shots of Moya, continue to just be gorgeous. And yes, they're low budget Windows 95 kind of CGI, but like I love the scale whenever Moya is compared to other planets. Like, she looks small, but you know she's huge. The entry, when she was going through the atmosphere and heading down for a landing, I really loved the whole landing sequence of her like skimming over the bog. But the shot that just was like, oh my god, that was at the very end when Moya was lifting off, and it was a perspective from like a bird's eye view from directly above Moya. And she was rising out of very like a beached whale, rising out of the bog. And I was just like, man, I love that. I love whoever's in charge of the special effects on the show. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate their imagination. I appreciate their flourish. It's just so pretty to look at.
I appreciated the shot when they were coming into the planet. We see like through like a, I don't know, it's not a windshield, but that's the only word I can think of. That shot was really pretty. I think they must have just got a camera and put it on some sort of a crane, and I don't know, pushed it through, and yeah, no, playing around with some filters and whatnot. I thought that was a really cool shot. But I get the feeling that part of the reason why the special effects work, even though they're clearly on a budget, is, to me, I get the feeling that the special effects team were very aware of what they could and couldn't do, and what they could do well, or decently. And I think that is part of what makes it work. They were aware of their limitations, so they didn't try to go beyond their means.
Definitely agree with that. It's just so pretty to look at. I'm really enjoying a lot of the space shots.
So, visual effects: Jason Bath and Paul Butterworth.
Okay. I wonder if they're like Australian, like if they've worked in the Australian film industry, or whether the crew was mostly American. I don't know.
I think a lot of crew for a lot of this was Australian. I don't know about the visual effects. Could try and look into that.
Yeah, I'd be super curious to know, because it sounds like it was a hybrid American-Australian production. Whereas initially I thought it was just an American production filmed in Australia, but yeah.
Yeah, kudos to Jason and Paul. They did a great job.
Yeah, come to think, but yeah, the overall production design feels very cohesive. You can clearly see that there was a lot of like just planning. Like they planned everything, it seems. Nothing really feels out of place, and it feels like it all fits together. It's cohesive.
The details matter. The details always matter when it comes to this kind of world building. Because also one of the things one of the things I've come to understand, as we've all spent time together on Passion of the Nerd, is everything that ends up in front of an audience needs to be on purpose.
Right.
Like every bit of visual detail that winds up in a single frame of a single episode needs to be on purpose.
Has to be done with intention.
Yeah. And the best shows are when that is true. Like the best shows are when that is accurate. And like even, if the theme of the episode is, Band-Aids are helpful, then every prop behind the actors in every single shot is a Band-Aid, or is, somebody is in a band that episode, or, they just hired a new aide or something. Like everything points to that thing. And like I said, so far, Farscape is really doing a good job of that.
There is a thing called Fallacy of Intent, which is when we see something and see meaning in it, we assume that meaning was intended, and it isn't always intended. There should always be intention and choice behind every mise en scene, but that's behind everything you see on screen. I'll stop being snooty film studies kid.
Don't stop doing that. That's why you're here.
Yeah, but maybe no jargon. But yeah,
jargon.
Everything mise en scène, which means everything that you see on screen, should be a choice. But that doesn't mean that everything is put in with the same amount of choice or the same amount of feeling, that everything has the intention that you necessarily read into it. But if you do things carefully and with intention, then you sort of make space for the watcher to see things and to find more meaning than you intended, which is it's just one of those wonderful things about art, that it ends up being a collaboration between the makers and the watchers.
The greatest example of that, at least for me, going back to Buffy again, Willow's I think I'm kind of gay line, because at that point they didn't know that they were actually going to take Willow in that direction, but it just worked out really well in the end.
Yeah, if you drop threads, you can pick them up later.
Right?
And I think that in high quality animated shows as well, like She-Ra and The Princesses of Power, or Avatar: The Last Airbender, all of the, especially in those kinds of media, all of the visual details need to matter in my view. But I always like, and I always take a very like in-universe approach interpretation. Whenever we say, why does something mean what it means in a show, I always try to imagine the meaning within the universe without necessarily attributing it to a really persnickety stagehand or something like that,
Yeah. Though you always have to accept that there is, you always have to accept that there is going to be times that the needs of the plot override the needs of physics or whatever. There's that to reference Pratchett again, there's that bit of narrativium that exists in all fictional worlds that overrides other aspects of physics to make whatever needs to work. And yeah, Farscape is we've sort of wandered away from Farscape a little bit, but I think it's appropriate that we're talking about fiction generally and science fiction generally, because this episode is a lot of tribute to various bits and pieces of sci-fi.
Yeah.
In a sort of it's sci-fi trope gumbo.
It comes across as an homage in some parts, definitely.
Yeah.
Homage, shout out, rip off. I mean, the hat tip. Thank you. It's a much more generous term. But Jack, absolutely. When the jeeps came over the hill and the soldiers got out, and the dogs that weren't even disguised in any way, shape, or form.
I'm still so stunned by the dogs. I'm like, so there's dogs on this planet and they're just dogs? Like, there's nothing...
Well, we never saw them because they were in silhouette at the far end of the bog. But
they could be targs if we saw them up close.
Could be.
Could be what?
Targs. Klingon dogs.
What's a Oh, okay. Cool.
Which are dogs with a bit of something on their head, basically.
With a bit of bumpiness. Yeah, I don't know. That really made me go, wait, are they on Earth? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah. I kind of love the, we'll just put gas masks on everybody we don't want to put makeup on.
Listen, man, there were any number of times on Star Trek where they didn't want to pay for all the Vulcan ears, and so that's why Vulcans have headgear.
Yep.
Ceremonial headgear, so that we don't have to pay for the ears.
Yeah, that's tricks of production. God, I miss making stuff. I love making videos, but I miss collaborating.
Yeah, performance and all that.
So let's talk about our favorite parts.
Let's do that.
Oh, I flip-flopped on this so much, and even as I'm about to give the answer, I'm like, I'm going to give it to Zahn just being an absolute badass and taking Moya's pain. The empathy and consideration is so freaking gorgeous, and I love it. But I want to give... I got two runner-ups that I feel the need to also mention, if I may. Rigel biting a chunk out of Aaron's arm and eating it. Like, it was like what? It was so shocking, and I'm a horror fan, so I like that gory, gross stuff. But it was just, it stunned me, so I got to mention that. And also, don't tell me you're gonna miss that rock. No, not that rock. It made me feel things, man. But yeah, I'm gonna give it to Zahn though.
I would not have included Rigel gnawing off Aaron's arm as one of my favorite parts. When that happened, I was like, oh, oh, and then he like slurped. Anyways,
He didn't just bite her; he ate the
ate
freaking
the
chunk.
Yes.
I
I've had arguments with my friends before, and I've never eaten any portion of them during the course of an argument.
like. I love it, but I also hate it, but I also love it. Yeah. I think I love it because I hate it so much.
I mean, that's like it was effective as hell. That's valid.
Yeah.
I think it kind of sums Rigel up.
Love it because I hate it. Yeah. My favorite part is also Zahn, like full stop, front to back. I mean, so far she's doing the most on this show. If it weren't for Zahn, so far they'd be dead about 3 times.
Yeah.
But her taking Moya's pain, her sitting and chatting with Rigel, that wonderful scene with Aaron where she's like, "You actually care about me," and Aaron's like, No, I care about nothing. And Zahn's like, "Okay." And then at the very end, after everything is all said and done, when she and Rigel are laying down on the floor together, and they're both just like, "Good job." Like, that was like, okay, that's cool. That's fine. Zahn.
My favorite part is Aaron. Specifically, the moment when she's holding Zahn after everything, and she's just sitting on the floor holding Zahn before the boys arrive. It's just, and like Zahn's unconscious, so she can't tell that Aaron is sort of holding her, and yet she is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very small bit of acting by Claudia Black that I think is rather lovely.
She's doing a really good job.
She is.
She's doing a really good job of portraying somebody who doesn't even know their own potential yet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes. I'm looking forward to seeing where they all go, really. It's yeah.
I'm really enjoying this ride, honestly.
I am really glad we're doing this. I'm really glad that you guys are enjoying the show.
And like I keep saying, even all of that aside, it's just a good excuse to spend some time with my friends.
Look at us.
Yeah.
You know?
Look at us together.
They're all going to get sick of us being pushy.
I don't think they will, Sara. I think we need to show them what it looks like to build up your friends.
Okay. Speaking of building people up, let's build ourselves up and promote our stuff. Mm-hmm. So, we have a Patreon, and you will find it in the doobly-doo. And we would love your support if you have a little to give us, and we will try and come up with some fun things to do to make that worth it. At the moment, you will hopefully get early access to our episodes. And we also have a Discord, which you do not need to be a patron to join. And we've even convinced Josh to join now.
I'm on the Discord.
He's with us.
I'm not very active on it so far, but I'm on the Discord.
It's a quiet Discord so far, but it's a nice group of people, I think. And
so far, it's a harmony.
It is.
And I have made some Farscape specific emojis.
Good.
Nice.
I made each of our characters that we've met so far, and a little DRD, and the words Frel and Dren.
I love DRD.
So.
Oh dear, indeed.
That was kind of fun to make. So please feel free to join us, or you can join in a discussion with us at our Twitter as well, which is Muppet Sex and T1, because limited characters, or on our Facebook group. All of the links will be in the doobly-doo. And now, Jack, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Lack of Surprise One. That's all one word with a number 1 at the end. And you can also catch me on my other podcast, Podcast of the Nerds, that I do with my friend Ian from Passion of the Nerd. Yeah, come on over and check us out if you'd like to. And yeah, come and chat to me on Twitter. You can tell me whatever you want to tell me. Let's just chat. Come on over.
And that is the Ian you sometimes hear us referred to from Passion of the Nerd,
Yes.
who does fabulous Buffy guides, and you should check those out.
Absolutely.
As you should also check out Chipperish.
Oh, yes. I also edit for the lovely Lani Diane Rich over on Chipperish Media.
And
Good
while
stuff.
we are plugging our friends, I want to encourage you guys to check out Jessie Gender's YouTube channel if you haven't yet, who is very talented and has been promoting some of my videos, which I'm very thankful for. And she has a podcast with Council of the Nerds. They also do Farscape. So if we aren't enough Farscape for you, you can always go visit What the Frel, who have the second best Farscape podcast name.
I like ours. So I am pretty new to the scene in terms of my media commentary presence. This is my first podcast or anything like that, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really delighted for the opportunity to be able to do this. Thank you, Sara, for bringing me aboard. I've got an Instagram where I spend time cooking and relating it to how I'm taking better care of myself than I used to.
Beautiful.
So if you want to come salivate over delicious food, hopefully, or read along on what it's like living in my head, my Instagram is at Josh Gosdin, all squished together like that. And
Very fun and entertaining stuff.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Yes, I followed too now.
And since we're plugging our friends, one of the folks who has helped me kind of crystallize some of my viewpoints on the Star Trek the Original Series is Ren the Barbarian, Ren's YouTube channel, where she does Star Trek the Original Series video guides. Go check her out on YouTube, Ren the Barbarian, all one word. And she does spend some time kind of deconstructing the pastiche that has been built up around Captain Kirk over the years. So that was kind of where I was getting a lot of what I was saying earlier. Ren the Barbarian on YouTube. But while you're on YouTube, you should definitely hit up the Costume Codex.
Absolutely.
Sara.
Yes, that would be my channel where I talk about costume stuff, and also now where I've started getting a bit, and also now where I've started getting a bit into speaking on fat liberation, which is a subject that is important to me. So yeah, if you want to check out my videos, they are at the Costume Codex on YouTube. And if you want to hear my thoughts on stuff in general, you can always follow me on Twitter at BlueStockinSara, BlueStockin Sara. It was supposed to be Blue Stocking, but there's too many characters. You can find me there. I'm also the Costume Nerd on Instagram, but I should share more of my pictures since I like taking pictures.
Yeah.
I got an Instagram, but I hardly ever use it.
We are.
Ian actually convinced me to get it.
Ah, yes. We are using the things.
Yeah, we're millennials.
We're so
actually.
millennials.
So I guess you're. No, you would be just a millennial, right? Just.
I am cusp.
Old millennial, young
Yeah,
Gen
cusp.
Xer, new Zennial.
There's a name for that,
Zennial.
but I was 1980. I'm right on the cusp. So
Oh, yeah.
I remember life before the internet, but
So do I. I do too.
We're not
like
that
Josh
young.
and I are kind of like the last generation that grew up with technology but still went outside to play.
Mm-hmm.
Is way
I remember getting my first computer at home. I remember getting my dial-up modem installed at home.
Oh, yes. Squeak, squeal, squeak, squeal. Yeah.
So that's us.
That was a terrible.
We also had a dial-up phone. Yeah. we are the generation.
God, remember landlines?
Oh God.
Yeah.
We're good. Listen, we're aging right before your very eyes. We need to.
Yeah.
to bail.
Okay. The I remember and you don't is probably I remember the USSR.
I don't. I remember the wall coming down. I remember the wall coming down.
Not really. Oh, really? See, I don't. When I was a kid, I didn't give a crap about news. I was just like Power Rangers and food. That's it.
My parents were the ones that gave a crap.
It was the first news story I remember. I clearly remember, because it was just so big. Yeah.
I'm not sure of the first one I remember. Probably an election when John Howard became prime minister. But you guys don't. You guys don't care about that. It's fine.
Now that we're all rocking comfortably on our front porches, sipping our lemonade.
Get those damn kids off my lawn.
It's back in my day.
This is part of why I miss the theater, is because by community theater, I am one of the young ones.
You're still young to us, Sara.
Anyway, we should probably do an outro of some kind.
Okay.
Well, ladies, gentlemen, and gentle thems, thank you for joining us to talk about Farscape today. We will be back in 2 weeks to discuss the episode Exodus from Genesis. There's no particular content warning on this one. Yeah, so the next episode is Exodus from Genesis, followed by...
Leviticus?
Just
Deuteronomy?
the book of Job.
There-
The book of Kramme.
Followed by Thank God It's Friday again.
See? God.
Oh. Josh does it again.
Okay, so Exodus from Genesis.
Followed by Thank God It's Friday again.
Cool.
Okay.
Alrighty, friends.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. We're all friends here. We're all friends here. Flirty friends, it seems.
Yes, but we...
Just look at Josh. That wonderful mustache. Your hair looks so smooth.
Thank you. I've had the same haircut since I was 5.
Well, if it works, why change it?
The thing I love about that is I absolutely know you were telling the truth. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.